Okay, and again, hello everyone. Thank you for joining our Q&A session. If you do ever miss a Q&A session, or if you want to look at past Q&A sessions, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Career Innovations. Is all one word. If you go to our channel, you can actually look at all the sessions that we have uploaded that answers various questions. And if you want to get very detailed, look inside the description of the videos and it will tell you what questions that we're answering in that session, so you don't have to review the entire video to figure out what the topic is going to be. So I do put that in the description so you'll know exactly what questions we'll be covering in each session. Also, when you do join the sessions, if you do register online, either through the website or through Eventbrite or however you do register, there is a question that asks what questions you'd like for us to cover. And I ask that in advance so we can put together slides that are tailored to the questions that you have. So that way we're answering questions that you have, and this is going to be a relevant session for you to help you. Again, this is for you. So if you have any questions beforehand, definitely fill them out when you register, or even when you get the invitation or you get the notification that you're registered. My email's enclosed in there where you can send a question if you think of one later on in the week, depending on how early that you registered. If you haven't used GoToWebinar platform, you can ask questions one of two ways. You can raise your hand. I can unmute your mic and you can verbally ask your question, or you can type your question in the question panel below. You do have a panel that allows you to type the question. I would keep all mics muted until the end of the session. That way I open up the floor and allow everyone to speak or address any material that I've covered. Again, questions are answered following the slides, and usually I only have a handful of slides depending on the questions. I did not get a lot of questions for this session. I know we're just starting back up this year, so I know this is our second session that we've had for 2015. So I know that a lot of people are getting in the groove of things, but moving forward, definitely send me your questions. Keep in mind we are covering a lot of material. Keep notes if you need to, so that way we can address any questions that you may have following the workshop. And I do like to get started about who I am and who Career Innovations is. If you do not know who Career Innovations, who we are a staffing and recruiting firm or executive recruiting firm. We target very niche opportunities for employers. So if they have a position that they can't quite find the right candidate or is becoming very hard to fill, they call us. So that's pretty much what we do. We find candidates in innovative and unconventional ways. One of my true passions is organizational change. I really do believe the core of candidates and employees in general actually come by the way the organization is structured, and that's really going to attract your top talent. In addition to our HR and job seeking training that we do offer, we also offer compensation benchmarking, referral, and retention workshops. And I always like to start each session with a quote. And today's quote is, one of the most important traits of success is the ability at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we want to become. So that's something that you should think about as well, not only through your journey and through your career search journey, but through your personal and professional life as well. A lot of things that we want, we may have to sacrifice to get. And sometimes to become what we want to become, we have to sacrifice who we currently are. So I really do think this is a great quote that I wanted to start off today with. I wanted to get back to the basics. We're in 2015 now, and a lot of things have changed from the last 2 years. Let's just say the last 3 years. Before then we were working, I should say in the red. per se. You know, we had a lot of companies, you know, going through a recession or recovering from a recession that were either slowly hiring or slowly laying off or finding a way to restructure their company. And I wanted to get back to the basics, you know, when it comes to finding a job. And regardless if you've been searching for, you know, 1 week or you've been searching for 1 year, the formula stays the same. And if you apply this formula, I can guarantee, and I usually don't make guarantees, but I can guarantee if you apply this formula, you are going to find a opportunity. And many people that say they apply this, and I've talked to many candidates, you know, and they'll tell me I've done this and I've done that, and I can just ask one question and it reveals what they have not done. So once you're able to put at least these 4 key points, and all these points have, of course, their own sub points that are made for this, but these are the 4 key points that need to be taken a look at and really need to be implemented. And it really goes, again, the first point I want to make is back to the basics. You know, and this goes back to your resume, cover letter, your online presence, or your interview skills. Keep in mind, your first impression can sometimes be the only impression you get from a decision maker. You know, and I really try to have people visualize, you know, think of a time when you were trying to retain a service, or you were in the market of retaining someone's services. In general, we're talking about a plumber, a contractor, even online shopping. And I'm pretty sure everybody that's using this tool now and listening to me, you know, is very familiar with online or on the online web. So think about online shopping. What are some red flags that you see? If you're on a website or you're thinking about making a purchase, there's some things that you see that gives you a first impression whether or not you want to move forward. This is no different from your resume, your cover letter, you know, your online presence, or even the first impression in an interview. You know, what are some characteristics that were presented with a particular vendor that made you feel comfortable enough to retain their services? I've been to websites, it goes back to my first example of online shopping, that I didn't even want to put my credit card in there, you know, because it didn't look reputable. And what I mean by that, either the link was kind of faulty, or if I was clicking something, you know, it took me to another page, or I got an error message. I didn't go back to figure out to see if they fixed their website. More likely, I moved on to another website or to another vendor that could solve my problem. And that's the same thing with employers. They don't have time to figure out, okay, what does this person mean? What are they trying to tell me in their resume? You know, are you using the same resume, cover letter, even LinkedIn profile that you did 3, 4, 5 years ago? And I know LinkedIn, I couldn't even go back that far, but for a resume, for instance, I know a lot of people that were currently looking for work that been gainfully employed for the last decade, and they find themselves either laid off. They use that same resume to try to get a new opportunity. You know, the market and the climate has changed. Has your presence? Has the way you present yourself to employers changed with the times? And there's various ways that many job seekers are getting employers' attention, and it's going beyond the resume. So I want you to be able to tap into different resources that are out there that can give you a platform to be able to reach out to employers and put your best foot forward. The next thing I want to talk about is a plan of action. Even after you have your resume, whether you redo it yourself, you go get it professionally done, you practice with a friend with your interview skills, what is your plan of action? Excuse me. Sorry, my slides kind of went haywire. What is your plan of action? How do you plan to get the attention of employers? How do you plan to market yourself? How do you plan to market the marketing tools that you have? And one thing I tell people, you know, your network is gold. I'm seeing more and more candidates find jobs by word of mouth. They're finding jobs through other people, either past employers, current employees, ex-bosses, colleagues, people that they graduate with, for alumni. They're finding different ways to tap into their network. You want to be able to have some type of plan of action. How do I plan to get my resume in front of employers in addition to applying online? Keep in mind that is a way to get an opportunity, but that's not the only way to get an opportunity. And you want to make sure that you're touching all bases outside of just applying online. And one thing you can do to put your plan of action together, you can start writing a list of the top 10 companies that you want to work for. And think outside the box. All the companies that you may want to work for do not have to be a household name or Fortune 500 company. And that's where I see a lot of people are limiting themselves as well. So you want to sit down and decide what type of opportunity you're looking for, and being able to draw up a plan of how am I going to contact the decision makers in these companies. You need to also be checking on LinkedIn for people that are in the roles that you're applying to. What allowed this person to be chosen or hired to be in this role? That means looking at their background, looking at their experience, looking at their education, and taking notes. And it does mean aligning yourself up and seeing, how do I measure up to the competition? So you definitely want to make sure that you're doing that. Another way you can have a plan of action is start subscribing to RSS feeds, niche job boards. When I say niche job boards, we're not talking about the top 5, or I call them the big 5, your Career Builder, your Monster. We're talking about the niche boards that are in your industry. There are job boards out there literally for every single industry. There's a job board that's just for accounting. If you're an accountant, there's a job board strictly for accounting jobs. There's a job board strictly for HR jobs. You want to find what niche board can I subscribe to, and what employers are posting to those job boards outside of the big 5. Then you also want to check your online presence. This is something that recruiters like myself, headhunters, and executive firms do look at. They do look at the online presence. Is this person a guru in the area that I'm looking to hire for? If so, I should be able to easily access this person online. So what is your online presence? You also want to research and contact recruiters in your niche. There are recruiters that actually specialize in a particular field. Of course, there are generalist recruiters that recruit for any and everything, but there are recruiters out there that they only recruit for a particular industry. If you're in marketing, there's a recruiter out there that's all they recruit for is marketing. They don't recruit for nothing else but marketing jobs. So you need to be able to reach out to these recruiters that are in your field, that have niched out your field, because they're going to have the opportunities that are not going to be posted online. They've already built the relationships with the employer in the industry that's looking for your skill set. These are the people that you need to start building relationships with, in addition to the hiring manager or the decision maker within the organization. Next thing you want to do is also stay organized, and this is actually going to go down to follow up and track your results. But first you have to stay organized to what opportunities that you applied to, the networking events that you have attended, any type of marketing that you sent out to employers. You want to make sure that you're staying organized, either using an Excel sheet. You can also use a tool called Jibber to track your applications. They'll let you know, what are jobs that you applied for, how long it's been, when's a good time to follow up. You can use Google Alerts to put in, I applied to this job, I should follow up in a week or 2, so that way you're getting alerts, and it takes us to following up and stay relevant. You want to make sure that you have some type of follow-up plan in place, and that's what a lot of job seekers I'm starting to see, they're not following up, or they applied to so many jobs they don't even know what jobs they applied to, so it's almost impossible to follow up because they don't know what they applied to. So you want to make sure that you're, again, staying organized and you're following up. And the reasons are not because you're not qualified. Sometimes employers just forget. Sometimes they're overwhelmed with so many applications. Some of them make false assumptions. You know, you may apply and they may figure, well, this person's overqualified. I would love to hire them, but they may be too expensive. So they may not reach out to you. And that one follow-up may encourage them to show that, okay, this person's serious. They may have the tenacity to follow through in this job. Let me go ahead and take a second look at this person. So that's why you want to follow up and you want to stay relevant in your field. Become that guru. When someone thinks of your particular field, you want to be the top 10 people that they think of in your particular area. You know, if someone thinks of recruiting, I want them to think of Bridget. You know, so I want to keep a online presence and stay as relevant as possible in my industry. And what can you do to stay relevant? LinkedIn has given you the tools to stay relevant. You can post things now. You can share posts. You can subscribe to your industry related newsletter and share that to your network. There's different ways that you can stay on top of people's mind other than just applying on an online application, which in some cases they may not see depending on how many people apply. Next thing, you want to track your results. And this is something that most people don't do. Even if they follow up, even if they have some type of plan of action in place, many people are not tracking their results. You cannot change what you don't measure. You know, if you're doing something and it's not working, how will you ever know what's not working if you're not tracking what you're doing? So you want to make sure that you're tracking what you're doing and eliminating the tasks that's wasting your time and not generating any results. If you find yourself, hey, this is, you know, position 450 that I applied to and I haven't heard anything back, why are you going to apply to another 450 jobs until you realize applying is not working? Or when are you going to look at, okay, maybe is it something that I'm applying to? Maybe if I'm not qualified for it, is it my resume? Do I have enough keywords in there? Am I reaching out to the employers directly? You want to make sure that you can tweak what you're doing and how you can update your workflow. And this is also going to lead you to the discovery of staying focused. You know, a lot of people have become discouraged because they focus on their failures. They focus on not getting that call back. They focus on not getting the feedback or the follow-up, you know, once they reached out. But when you're tracking your results and you're starting to see what you are receiving back, you will no longer focus on what you're not. So that's another reason why you want to be able to focus and track your results, because it's going to keep you encouraged to move forward. Next thing you also want to do, you want to break things, the big task, into smaller steps. That's another thing with tracking your results. And it went back to putting together those 10 companies. That may seem like a huge task to do. I have to research 10 companies, the decision makers, who's who, looking at profiles. Just work on one at a time. Track what you do with that one company before you move on to the next one. You know, I researched 3 people at this company. I sent my resume up. I followed up. I sent some articles of interest. I connected on LinkedIn. Track how that one company responds before you try to duplicate that to the 9 other companies. And the reason why I say that is once you can figure out what's working or what's not working with that one company, you're not going to duplicate what's not working with 9 other companies because you're going to get the same results. So break it down. I'm going to focus on just one company and see how they respond to this action plan I have in place. And if I get feedback, if I get an interview, now I know I can duplicate what I've done with the 9 other companies. So that's what you want to focus on, and you want to be able to track that and keep in mind, you know, when I work with candidates and I ask them, hey, what company, and this is one of the questions I ask when I work with candidates, what companies have you applied to so far? They can tell me their most recent ones. Yeah, I applied here, I applied. They can tell me the ones they applied to within the last week. And the reason why I ask that, because I don't want to duplicate their efforts. I don't want to reach out to a company they already interviewed with and already was declined, an interview for. That shoots down my credibility. So that's why I ask these questions. But you'll be surprised how many candidates have no clue beyond a week or two what they applied to. They figure it, well, if I didn't hear anything back, there's no point in keeping track of it. Every person that you reach out to can be a potential network that you can build, or a relationship that you can build. So you definitely want to make sure, even if you have a no, you can find a way to tap into their network to get a yes. Next thing is, what's your plan? That's taking an assessment. And when I mean taking an assessment, that means taking inventory, being very honest with yourself. What do you have to offer? What skills or attributes make you unique? What value are you going to bring to the organization? These are things that you have to be very honest with. Because if you're not honest, believe me, the employer is. So you want to make sure that you are taking some type of inventory. You're writing down, okay, this is what I'm applying to. These are the requirements. What am I short? What's coming up short? How can I make this something I can build on to bridge that gap? If it's education, what can I be doing now while I'm not working to bridge that gap? If it's experience, what can I be doing now to gain that experience? It may be volunteering. It may be doing pro bono work. It may be self-study to get yourself more acquainted with the industry. So you want to take a true blue assessment on, what am I doing and how do I measure up to everyone else that's applying to this job? Because keep in mind, when you apply to these positions, more likely these people are going to have the same education. They're going to have the same experience. They're going to be coming to the table pretty much with the same things that you're going to come to the table with. But what's going to make you different? What's going to differentiate you from everyone else that's applying to this job? That also takes me to your marketing plan. How do you plan on marketing yourself? How do you plan on getting your value to the marketplace? What message are you going to get across? How are you going to get that message to the decision makers? How are you going to promote yourself? Other than your resume and cover letter, what else are you using? I can tell you right now, I'm seeing candidates now with personal websites. I'm seeing candidates putting together infographics. I'm seeing them do all types of creative things. What? To get our attention. And I take it from, if you think about it, think of celebrities. Think about the celebrity, and I don't know what your taste is out there, but think about a celebrity that you are just so tired of hearing about. You're just tired of, they're either in the news about something. But the thing is, they're getting your attention, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, they're staying relevant. So you're going to have to figure out a way, how am I going to get my message across? And I've seen some creative ways that job seekers have stepped outside of just the typical resume and found ways to promote themselves. I've seen them do videos. I've seen them, have an intro on their LinkedIn profile. I've seen them put publications that they've done. So you want to find ways that you can do that. Relationships. You want to make sure that you're building meaningful relationships. You're attending networking events that are currently planned and they're going to push you closer to your goal. And there's a difference between just going to any type of networking event and a networking event that's going to be something that's going to push you closer to employment. And I hear a lot of people that go to these networking events that have nothing to do with what they're trying to do. And before you attend a networking event, I really encourage you to ask yourself, who am I trying to meet at this event? Who are going to be at this event that can help me reach my goal? And if you can't answer that question, if you can't think of anyone at this event that's going to push you closer to your goal, why are you attending? You're wasting your time. I rarely go to after-hour events because I realize the people that make the decisions aren't at happy hour. Most of the people that I come in contact with that I need to make decisions are on nonprofit boards that are attending conferences. These are where I find these people. So you have to find what is the most effective and efficient way to network. You may have to join some associations dedicated strictly for your industry, so you can start rubbing elbows with the gurus of your industry. And I can guarantee you there are going to be decision makers that are part of that industry or a part of that association. Solution. Why should I hire you? That's the question that you have to ask. Why should I hire you? And a quick exercise I usually get any candidates that I'm working with on some type of career path, I ask them to give me their top 5 accomplishments. And when I say accomplishments, not your task. And people get that confused. On their resume, they list, what they're responsible for. It almost looks like a job description. You are a marketing manager and you manage X amount of people. Well, you were the marketing manager. That was a given. A solution is something that brought value to the organization that couldn't have been achieved without you there. That's an accomplishment. That's a solution. What did you do while you were there that was not something that was required for you to do? Did you increase something? Did you streamline a process? What solution did you bring to that organization? That's what companies want. That's what companies are paying for. As the economy is getting tight, and people are starting to look for ways to cut their budget, they're looking for people that are the shaker and movers. They're looking for the innovators. Companies don't have money just to pay a check anymore. They want to make sure that if I'm going to hire this person for X amount of dollars, what is my ROI? What's my return on investment? What am I going to get out this person? What are they going to do to increase my bottom line? And we're not always talking about increase as far as dollars. We could talk about productivity. Did this person orchestrate a team that get things done faster, which in turn does save us money and increase revenue? So you want to think about the solutions that you're providing and being able to put this on the forefront of your resume, not just this is what I did, this is what I was hired to do. And that's what a lot of resumes read now. And I used to call a resume, I have a format for it, the CAR format, C-A-R. And each statement that you make on your resume should follow the CAR format, which is conflict, the CAR, which is your conflict. I know it's your conflict and your resolution at the end. I'm sorry, I kind of blacked out there. But you're going to have your conflict. What problem did you have? Then you're also going to talk about what steps did you take to resolve that problem and what results did it bring to the organization. So it's your CAR method, and you want to make sure that you're putting this in your resume. Next one, again, we already talked about follow-up, being able to follow up with the organizations. What are you doing to follow up with them? Are you sending your thank you notes? Are you reaching out? And don't get me wrong. I know, of course, if you're dealing with a Fortune 500 company, not every single company is going to follow up. And if they do follow up, you're going to get that generic thank you for applying, that generic email. We've decided to go with another candidate to fit our needs, and most companies, of course, the very big ones do that because they get so many resumes that they don't have time to reach out individually to every single person that applied. So they do have kind of a robotic way of replying back to people that have applied. But if you've actually had an interview, there's no reason why you can't connect with that person and figure out, hey, I know I didn't make it to the next step, but what could I have done to improve? What was lacking? And again, you do have some companies that, they don't want to be in hot water. They don't want to make this some type of issue that may turn into a legal issue, and they may find ways to deflect that. But at least ask, and you'll be amazed how many people will give you some genuine feedback, even if you don't make it to the next steps. Next one is the recruiting world. The recruiting world is getting bigger and smaller. You have to remember that the recruiting world begins to be more data driven. The entire process recruiting in the beginning is being more authentic and having more transparency. So that's why you need to have some type of consistent branding. You want to be social on and offline, and that means unplug. Don't just apply to jobs strictly online. Find a way to be able to put a face with a name, whether it's a networking event, and you can even do this locally. Find out where some of these hiring managers are a part of, what groups or associations they're a part of, what nonprofits do they admire, and see if you can find a way to engage with these individuals. And you want to also understand your market. And this goes for everything that's starting to change. Make sure the market that you're pursuing is in demand, and not so much demand, but are you keeping up with the skill set that goes along with that particular job? And I can give you a story about, I had a marketing professional I was working with that was 15 years with their company, and this goes back to, I haven't had to look for a job for 15 years. I've been gainfully employed for 15 years, and they got laid off. The company went through a merger and, got acquired by another organization, and, they got laid off. So they found themselves searching for a job, after 15 years. They didn't know where to start. But come to find out, the positions that they were applying to that normally 15 years ago weren't requiring the things that they're requiring now. It was a marketing position, and most of the positions required them to know certain CRMs, certain databases, certain software they had to know. And being with this company for 15 years, they were never exposed to this technology. And if they were exposed to the technology that particular company owned. So it was really no need to learn Salesforce or Sugar CRM or the other things that are out there. But they found that was a disadvantage, because when they started to apply to these jobs, everyone else knew it. It was almost as if they were in a cave for 15 years. And they couldn't figure out why they weren't advancing, because they were lacking something that everyone else was doing while they were working. So sometimes you staying in a job for so long can hinder you, because you may not know what's evolving in your career, in your industry, if you're not keeping up to date with these things. So you want to make sure that you're understanding the market and you're understanding the demands of your market, what's required for that particular job now. So next thing is education. I know I've got questions about education. You have a degree, so what? Passion works overtime. Experience will get you higher. Passions will work overtime, and you want to build a buzz. And I tell people a degree may get you an interview, but experience will get you hired. And there's a lot of people out there that may feel that they may not have the education for some of the jobs that they're applying to. But I like to also tell people that I'm seeing a lot of time experience and certifications are trumping that. They're looking for people that can do what they say that they can do. And you want to make sure that not only do you have the experience, but you have the passion and the drive to do it. Again, it goes back to, I have a certain budget, and I want to make sure that I'm spending this budget wisely, which means getting the right people in there. So you want to make sure that you're perceived as an expert in XYZ. I'm seeing a lot of people going to Bloggy. A lot of people are starting articles of interest, and they're sending it to their network because not only do they want to stay relevant, but they also want to make sure they're staying up to date on the most current things that are out there. So you want to make sure that you're doing that as well. In order to make a breakthrough, this goes back to evaluating what you want to do and the steps that you need to take in your current marketing plan. This is knowing who's who in your organization, and sometimes this all can be done by a numbers game. You want to make sure that you're comparing yourself to your competition, and you also don't want to be limiting yourself by the companies that you're applying to. And I know some individuals are only applying to the household names. You may not know that you can have a breakthrough considering startups and small companies. Small companies may not have the budget to, blast their job openings everywhere. You may have to research companies either locally or on a national level if you're willing to relocate, companies that are in your industry that are willing to look at you as a vital candidate. So you don't want to limit yourself just to huge companies. And I know it's so easy to do because they're everywhere, and if they have an opening, you apply. But you also want to consider other things as well. And again, it goes back to unplugging and using your resources, using your network. Asking for recommendations, asking for past employers to help you or assist you in your job search. Look at employees that are working for the company that you're interested in. That's the best way to get word of mouth, because they find a vested interest on being able to refer someone, to the organization that they believe in. So don't be a stranger. Don't feel intimidated to reach out to someone that may already be at the company that you're looking to networking. And if you can't get a hold of a decision maker in the company, look for somebody that will be your coworker. Look for somebody in the company that you would be working next to that you would like to, reach out to and just say, hey, I would like to pick your brain on this position. Is it still open? So you'll know, am I wasting my time to even apply? Do they have their mind made up on who they're going to hire? Many of these positions are filled internally, and you don't know, because it's still posted online. So you definitely want to make sure that you're using the resources out there to tap into anybody that can help you with your job search. What got you here won't get you there. Are you prepared? What changes are you ready to make? And again, it goes back to, what got you the job 10 years ago may not get you the job today. So you have to be ready to make that investment or make that sacrifice to go outside the job board and beyond the resume to get yourself noticed. We have about 15 minutes left. We're at about a quarter till, and this is when I actually open up the lines for any questions. My contact information I keep up. You can contact me directly at my email, or you can call, and my extension is 101. The best way to reach me is if you go to the website, as you can see under Career Innovations, and actually schedule a phone appointment. That's the best way to get me on the phone, because usually I'm not sitting in my office at the desk. I'm usually in the field networking and I'm tracking down top talent. We have write a review is 25% off on writing services. So if you want to write a review either on the services following our writing services, say we do your resume or cover letter and you write a review, you'll save 25% off. Or if you write a review for the workshops that we give online via LinkedIn, you'll also save 25% off. So we have this special going on as well. Going into the new year, I can see more so at the end of February, beginning of March, our prices will increase. So I like to be able to give people a chance to save money when they can. So I'm going to open the lines up now. If you have any questions at all, definitely raise your hand, or I will unmute your mic, or you can put your questions at the bottom and I will answer those. I have a question, how can you follow up with decision makers without being annoying? I do the 3 strikes and you're out rule. There's really not a rule, it's just something I do, because if if you have a hiring manager that's intentionally not responding to you, and I know you may have that feeling like, I know they got my email, I know they got my voicemail, so you know they're receiving your communication, but they're just choosing not to respond. That's when you go to the 3 strikes you're out. And usually that begins with, if you already interviewed with them and you sent them a thank you note. So that should be your first one, which is written. So if you've interviewed and you send them a thank you note, that's the first form of communication. The next form should be following up with the email. So say you send that thank you note, and I give it a week or 2, and really you can gauge how long to contact them, and I really push people to ask for a timeline. So if you're interviewing with someone, there's no reason why you shouldn't ask, hey, when should I hear back from you? When do you think you'll be making a hiring decision? I even ask, how many people are in the pipeline? You know, and many hiring managers or recruiters will be honest with you. Hey, we're interviewing about 3 or 4 more people, or we're really trying to get this position filled by the end of this quarter. They'll give you some type of deadline of when they're trying to get this position filled. So once you have a timeline, you can gauge on when to start following up. So after you've interviewed, I would say give it about a week or so, depending on if they're going to be interviewing other candidates. Because I had some that say, hey, I'm going to be interviewing all week. So that means don't follow up that week, because they're still interviewing candidates. So you might wait a week or so, then I will follow up with an electronic form, which is an email. You know, and hopefully in the interview you've gotten their contact information, so you're following up via email. You don't hear anything from that, you know, give it another week, follow up with a phone call. And more likely, more so than not, that you're probably going to get voicemail. Leave a voicemail message, and that's when you start doing your marketing. And I find this not annoying, because to me it's not annoying, because if they don't hire you or they get annoyed, being honest with you, what have you lost? You didn't get the job. You know, what have you lost if they don't respond back? You know, but in the same breath, you still should be gearing your efforts to other companies, and I hope you're not just you're waiting to hear back from them. Hopefully you have a couple of things going on in your pipeline. So if you're responding back, I would start sending articles of interest. So say, and I don't know why, I just keep thinking of marketing at the tip of my tongue, but say if I'm a marketing guru and I'm applying for a marketing manager job and I haven't heard anything yet, and hopefully you subscribe to their newsletter, because most companies now have some type of newsletter that goes out, or some type of quote-unquote updates that go out. Or you can follow up with you can sign up for their meeting. They'll tell you when they have things rolling out, or things that they're doing. So what I would do, I would follow up with a letter of not a letter of interest, but I would follow up with an article of interest. You know, say if you have received something from them that they're, you know, rolling out a new product. You know, I would do my research, and mind you, if this is a job you really want, you know, I would do my research and say, hey, you know, follow up with, you know, congratulate them on a new product or service they're rolling out, and I will also update them on a competitor that may have that same product or service. You know, because that lets them know this person's in tune with the industry. You know, it's impressive. If I was rolling out a service or, you know, product, and say I'm a VP of marketing and I'm trying to hire a marketing manager, and this potential candidate emails me back about a product that we just launched, and you're telling me my competitors, you know, that looks good. That outweighs any phone interview. So you definitely want to, and again, these are unconventional, out-the-box things that you can do. Most people don't take the time to do this. But I can guarantee you the people that do get the job. Because again, companies are looking for people that are going to bring their organization value. And by sending them that article of interest, you just gave them a glimpse of your motivation and tenacity. Because now they're going to say, well, this person's on top of it. They don't even work for us, and they already know our competitors and the product that we're rolling out. You know, I would like to talk to this person again. So those are the things that are going to impress those decision makers. So that's what I would do. Because who's going to be annoyed by that information? you're giving me insight on my industry, and not only that, you're giving me the competitors I need to be looking out for. I'm not going to be annoyed. I'm going to be appreciative. And if you do, once again, never say never, if you do come across that one or two HR personnel or that one or two manager that is annoyed by that, would you want to work for them anyway? And then again, what have you lost? It's not like you had the job anyway. What have you lost? And hopefully, even if you don't get the job, you can still build a relationship with that person. And believe me, people are very welcome to be open in a relationship. And as a recruiter, recruiting is sales, and I've had to sell my services. And don't get me wrong, I thought twice that maybe I was bugging someone. Maybe I'm annoying them by sending them information. But come to find out, I've actually had clients that I've had on my email list, and I've sent them things, and God forbid it didn't take you this long for someone to respond, but I've had clients that kept my information in a folder, and when they needed recruiting, they reached out to me 6-8 months later, and they will go back. They will go back to an email I sent in March, and here we are in November. They'll go back to an email I sent in March and say, hey, I pulled out your information, and I've been following you, and you had some real good things to say, and it sounds like you know a lot about this industry. We're looking for XYZ, VP for this particular organization. Can you help us out? This is 8 months later. But you just never know what that does to, they may not come out and say it, but you'll never know who's following you. Put it like that. You'll never know who's following you and who's really respecting the things that you do. So that's what I would do. 3 forms of communication: written, electronic, voicemail, and then I would follow up with letters of interest. And after that, if you can, and there's a lot of things out here now that are free that you can start sending out your own articles of interest in bulk, depending on industry. I think Chip, on one of them, I think you can send out 500 emails or 500 contact, or have up to 500 contacts for free before you have to start paying for the service. It may be 500 or maybe 200, I'm not sure. But you can actually sign up for that and start adding these hiring managers to your contact list, and start distributing this information on a monthly basis. We're not saying every week. You could do it once a month or once a quarter. Why? Because now you're staying relevant. Now you're staying on top of their mind. So when a position does open up, guess who they're going to call? They're going to reach out to you. So I hope that was able to answer your question at all. Do I have any more questions tonight? Do I have one more question about resume? You said revising your resume should be something that you should do when looking for a job. Is this a requirement? Revising your resume, yes, I would think would be a requirement if you're looking for a position, but I guess you're asking, should it be professionally done? And I've said this on past workshops before. You can ask 10 different resume writers how to write a resume, and they'll all give you 10 different answers, and guess what? They'll all be right. Because writing a resume can be so subjective. It really depends on what you're trying to target and what you're trying to capture in their resume. The requirements and what employers look at don't change. So you can do whatever you want to your resume. I can tell you, employers are still going to look at what solutions you brought, your longevity at a company, which shows that, okay, is this person staying at a company, or are they bouncing around? They're going to look at the companies that you worked for. Are they working for any of our competitors? They're going to look at what type of value you've brought. So regardless of how you do your resume, these are the things that should be at the forefront of your resume, because these are the things that they're going to be looking for. So if you need a professional to do that, definitely it's worth the investment. If this is something that you can do yourself, by all means do so. But I think moving forward with this marketing document, and that's what a resume is, it's a marketing document, you definitely want to make sure it's as marketable as possible. Because again, they don't get to see you. you're not able to state your case and state your abilities. That has to be seen through your resume. And if they're not being represented correctly, you can easily be overlooked. So that's how serious it is. And there's a lot of candidates that, I can have a conversation with them and they can tell me all day long they can do the job. But when I look at their resume, it says a totally different thing. And I can kind of match up. Yeah, you can definitely do it. But if I hadn't have talked to you, you would have been eliminated because your resume doesn't say this. So you definitely want to make sure that you are reflecting yourself very, very, you're reflecting yourself appropriately, and you're marketing yourself to the best of your ability when you are putting together your resume, whether you're doing it yourself or you're getting it professionally done. So I hope I was able to answer your question. If there's any other questions, definitely put them in the bottom, and I would definitely see if there's any more. I don't see any more. And we're about 5 till. I guess we're going to go ahead and end early tonight. This will be posted on our LinkedIn channel if you ever want to go back and take a look at any of our past workshops. Other than that, thank you again for joining. We do this again every Monday at 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully we'll get more questions in and we'll get the ball rolling, and we can get some real good information to you. And if not, check our YouTube channel, and you can look at past workshops. At the end of this, there is a survey. Please take the survey. It's only about 8 questions. That lets us know how we did, what we can do, how we can better our best, or any other topics that you'd like us to cover in the next sessions. So definitely take a look at that survey and fill that out for us. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great night.